Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the 343rd edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. I'm your host Steve Wellings, and joining me on the call so far we have Andy Patterson. That's it, just the two of us, hoping to stir up a few more dead bodies. You think that Triple G, back in the day, a Triple G fight weekend would have brought out the big names, the big personalities. Can't get any of the fuckers on tonight, but Gabe said he's coming on later, rapping Rob Kelly. Look who's come crawling back to us. He's going to come on later on as well, rapping behind the ropes. Didn't quite work out for him. He'll be back on the Asylum tonight, usually about 8:30. That's when he turns up. Not a great deal happened last night, but we will talk over Triple G's return against Sergei Derevyanchenko. Bit of golden contract on Friday evening. Haven't seen Ozzy. Maybe he'll come on later to tell us about that. Looking ahead to Josh Warrington as well next week. Bit of Usyk, Dimitri Bivol, questions, belly of the weeks. No guests, but you can join us if you want. If you've got Skype, got a phone number, got WhatsApp, whatever, then hit me up and we'll get you on. Give you a call. Heavy panel will be weighing in throughout, hopefully. Let's get over then, Andy, shall we, to the Madison Square Garden. Gennady Golovkin is a world champion once again. The IBF and the IBO, both of these titles were vacant. Sergei Derevyanchenko, the victim. Scores of 115, 112 times 2 and a 114, 113, all in Golovkin's favour. I thought it was an excellent fight, and Triple G, he did show flaws. We know he's on the slide, we know he's past it, but he showed an excellent chin, showed some stamina, a lot of resistance in the face of folding. I thought in the last few rounds, this is Derevyanchenko's territory. This is when Triple G is going to start to fold a little bit. He didn't. He stuck it out, he dug in, and as for the scores, I wouldn't complain with a 115, 112 to Golovkin, even though I didn't score it. But also, I wouldn't have complained if it had gone 115, 112 the other way to Derevyanchenko. I see things in Golovkin, he doesn't really throw the right hand as much anymore. The jab was a little bit sparse, doesn't like throwing to the body, because anyone with any hand speed will probably cause him issues. I've talked for long enough, Andy. What do you think? Sergei's busier hands or Triple G's heavier hands? Who had the fight for you last night?
I thought Golovkin just shaded it, just like you. I wasn't really scoring it as such, but I thought we kind of knocked down that as well. The heavier blows, he just shaded it for me. As I said last week, I thought Derevyanchenko would have got stopped, but he fought out his skin there last night. Like you, very, very good fight, I felt. It flew by just like last week's fight as well. The only issue, well, it's not an issue as such, but it's kind of bad news for both fighters, especially at this point in each other's careers, because Derevyanchenko is a young guy, but is his early 30s or whatever and stuff, and obviously we know where Golovkin's at the minute, but to have two guys basically visit the emergency room and stuff, you know, I know it's precautionary, maybe it's usual after each fight and stuff, but both guys took heavy leather there last night. Derevyanchenko, I thought, really did mix it up a wee bit, especially after the first round knockdown and the cut. I think it was in the second round. You're like, oh Christ, you know, it's just all falling apart for him. He came out in the third round. He just put it on Triple G, and I think his best work really was working Golovkin's body. He just didn't like it. A couple of times he hurt Golovkin there as well. But as you say, I think it was at round 7 and that. I think I commented that Golovkin, he was definitely breathing heavy and stuff. Maybe it was because of the body assaults naturally and stuff. But I just think with each passing fight now at middleweight at this point, obviously he's had the career where he's been fighting like 4 times in a year and stuff. But he's now at that point. Every time I see him on the scales now, he seems to be kind of getting like gradually looking worse. Didn't look any great on the scales on Friday. There's no word out now that he was partly ill and stuff. Don't know how much truth's into that. I'm not going to say that it's an excuse for his performance and stuff like that. It's just a guy who is now definitely on the slide. And again, a tough fight there last night from that. He probably just took whatever best was in his prime still, you know, right out of him. And that could be, you know, right pickings, I suppose, in a rematch. Which, by the way, I'm not really wanting to see a Canelo third fight straight away at the minute and stuff. I know there's business and politics involved in the background with all that stuff with Oscar and that, but I think Derevyanchenko deserves a rematch. As I say, it was a very, very good fight. I've got no qualms about or issues seeing about a rematch or Derevyanchenko getting the nod there last night, maybe even a draw. It was a very, very close fight, very competitive fight, and a very good fight. And as boxing fans, I think we won there last night. There was a lot of chat going about it was a blatant robbery and stuff. I'm not going to go that far. I mean, obviously the scorecards naturally maybe any close rounds, maybe it's just shady. It just went to Golovkin's way and stuff, and it's just, you know, eked it a wee bit kind of, you know, further for him and stuff like that. But I say very, very good fight, and but again, obviously there are a lot of question marks and, you know, off Golovkin off the back of that now and stuff, but I want to see it again. I wouldn't mind seeing it again. But you say the body assaults for Derevchenko was for me his key weapon and stuff. But at the same time, I would, if Golovkin is claiming he was ill and stuff, a rematch would basically then solve that issue really. If he can come back in the rematch and do it better, then we can maybe move on for that.
Maybe, even if they do have a rematch, I don't think he will. Swaggy Taggy says in the chat, shout out to everybody in the chat by the way, Triple G was saying he feels like a natural middleweight, but I agree, looked gaunt on the scales and apparently had issues, and the next day weigh-in, according to the DAZN commentators. MB's in there as well. Shrezha Mehta is mandatory, I think that's why he was on the card last night. Yes, Mr. Camille Zremem.
You see, I think he's the European middleweight champion at the minute. He's not got a lot of knockouts, which last night I think he did get a stoppage at second round or something.
He did. He knocked out Oscar Cortez. He's 21-0 now, the polls. So they might be trying to shoehorn him in at the moment to DAZN. Whether they take that or not, I'm not sure. But we know that Triple G is on the slide. But whoever got Triple G that $100 million contract at this stage of his career is an absolute genius. Because I think sometimes fights have slipped away from him. Canelo obviously messed him about originally. They finally got it on. Then the whole meat scandal. He has had people kind of messing him about. Billy Joe Saunders said he wanted the fight, didn't take it. I'm not saying this is all the opponent's fault. But he has been bumped and bashed from pillar to post, I think, at times with opponents fiddling him about. They'll maybe want to fight him a bit more now. Demetrius Andrade will be in the queue as well. But as for Sergei Derevchenko, I think he isn't good enough to win a world title, but he's good enough to push the best fighters really close, and that'll get him more opportunities. But I thought he did himself proud last night. Talking about doing themselves proud, Big Gabe Lewis is in the chat. How are you, Gabe? Keeping well tonight?
Yeah, doing good. Just got finished watching the fight.
Excellent, let's get your opinion on it then, starting with something Andy mentioned. And I also noticed Triple G, talk about blowing heavy after that 7th round in the corner. He was in and out, his lungs I thought were about to burst. I mean, the guy looked like he was absolutely knackered, but he came back, reinvented that excellent jab, brought it back out again. What about what did Triple G do wrong, Gabe, at times? I thought he spent too long standing in range without actually doing anything. And he has an excellent chin, we all know that, but are you, like me, concerned about the amount of flush shots he's taking? He seems to be relying on that chin a little bit too much now. Is there a cause for concern there, Gabe?
Well, I think he's doing what he's always done, and he's always been kind of a guy that was okay with not punching first all the time. And whenever he's not, he kind of stands there. He's always done it. I think the big difference is that he had a little bit better reflexes than we saw last night, and so he could move enough to make punches miss or block them. And he's been quick enough, too, to also throw some punches right after his opponent does to kind of offset it a little bit. So I guess his timing has always been really good, or maybe not really good, but good enough to kind of get him through that. So, I mean, really, I think the biggest problem he had was that he just couldn't keep up after all that body work of Derevchenko. Look, I thought it was a really good fight. I thought it was fairly close. I had it scored 113-114 for Derevchenko. I felt like each guy had moments, but if you kind of take the round as a summary, I think probably what helped Golovkin out a little bit more in terms of the judges was that he finished some of the rounds stronger. So in that last 10, 15 seconds, he would land a bigger punch or land a couple more punches. But throughout the fight, I thought Derevchenko controlled it and really boxed his ears off in a lot of spots. But I don't think, from what I saw, that he did it consistently enough to control the whole round, I guess is what I would say. Still me watching it, I still felt like it was close enough it could go either way. So I wouldn't, anybody throwing out the robbery here is obviously foolish because they couldn't see that it was a close fight. But I just felt like, I thought Derevchenko, his boxing ability was better. I felt like his volume was better. Golovkin landed some big punches, but he didn't land enough big punches. He didn't land enough quantity to to sway me on most of those rounds. Now, that said, those rounds were close, so I could see how that might give him the rounds in some cases. But, I mean, Derevchenko fundamentally just boxed his fucking ears off. I mean, his footwork, I've harped on footwork before in other fights, but his footwork was really tremendous most of the fight, and he was able to, get some punches in and move, and Golovkin was too slow when he moved, so then when he got kind of reset, Derevchenko was already throwing more punches, and the body work was tremendous. The body work is really probably what made this fight what it was, because if Derevchenko had gone to the head all night, it wouldn't have been as close, I don't think, because I think the big thing that helped him out was he got Golovkin worn down, and so Golovkin couldn't respond with big flurries, and I think that zapped some of his power out too. So in summary, I mean, I think if you look at the whole fight over everything that happened, I thought Derevchenko fought a masterpiece of a fight in doing what he did what he wanted to do for a large portion of the rounds. I just think that people were probably swayed by a little bit of Golovkin being the bigger name. Some rounds where Golovkin probably pulled out the last 10, 15 seconds, and then he landed – I do feel like he landed in some rounds a couple of bigger punches, but I think I've typically, not always, and I think we all kind of work this way, all fans of boxing, we kind of have a preference that we like to see. So are we a volume guy? Do we like to watch people throw volume? Or do we like to watch people throw, big power punches? So kind of either way you go, you might vary back and forth based on the fight. But I thought control of the round went to Derevchenko most of the time because of his volume and his work. And then Golovkin was able to make it close by landing something big. The 12th round, I felt like Golovkin was on the verge of losing, but then right before the bell, he landed two big uppercuts that I think sealed the round, because it was that kind of round. It was really close. So those last two punches right before the bell did the job for me in the 12th round. So I think it was a good fight. I didn't watch it initially last night because I really didn't care too much to see it. But then our good friend Rob actually, told me I needed to watch it. So I did. It was a good show.
Yeah, Tosh in the chat is wondering whether Triple G's legs have gone. JG also raises a good point. He says, Triple G's got equity in DAZN. Can anyone really see him losing any close fights like that by decision? Great fight, Triple G on the slide. That's what makes it interesting, adds Tosh. Indeed, Golovkin is on the slide, but he's a warrior. He came back as well in the 10th round, which is Sergei's territory. He's a guy who comes on strong late on in the fight, and that showed what a good scrap it was for me. The scores were fair. I said during the week that I felt Triple G would win on points around a 115, 113. It would be close, it would be competitive, it would be razor thin. It's about time I got something right. Gabe, just before we bring Andy back in, tell me about both guys going forward then. What are they going to do? Talking about rematches here. Is Golovkin, they're going to try and put him in with Andrade, throw him in against another contender, maybe this Jeremeta will work his way into the mix. And what about Derevchenko? He's going to get more opportunities, isn't he? So there's a bright future, I suppose, in the short term for both guys, but maybe more for Derevchenko. He looks like he hasn't got quite so many miles on the clock. He'll need that eye stitch though, Gabe.
Yeah, that cut was pretty good. Look, I don't really care where they go next. I'm not what I would call a fan of either guy. Not a person who absolutely hates either guy, despite, what it may sound like from me not having watched the fight live and not really caring a whole lot for it. I would watch both of them again. So what they do, I hope they maintain a record of going forward with some of the best fights possible. I don't really care to see Golovkin and Canelo again. I mean, Canelo's moved up. He's gone on to do other things. I know there's a lot of people that have some sand in their pussies because of the fact that Golovkin lost the two fights with Canelo, and they want to have a rematch and all those kind of things. But if they do, that's phenomenal. If they don't, that's fine with me. I would much prefer to have I actually would love to see a rematch with these two again. Put them in there one more time. Let's go one more time and see what happens and see if we can get somebody a little bit more of a definitive win. But at the same time, like you said, they got Pupu Andrade there waiting. I mean, there's a whole score of fights that you could see being made either way. But I do think that Derevchenko increased his stock. I think Golovkin probably made himself more of a desired opponent now for a lot of guys. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to see Derevchenko get some middle-of-the-road fights. It wouldn't surprise me to see Golovkin get some higher, not necessarily higher quality, but some higher exposure type fights with some bigger names. Because after that performance last night, I can see a lot of guys' mouths probably watering, looking to get in there with him and looking to have that big fight and get that big money payday. So I kind of assume that's what's going to happen. I don't know, though. It could be a case where we're just waiting for Canelo to finish off Kovalev's leftovers and then come back and finish off Golovkin and make him look like the king of the castle, which at this point, a win over Kovalev looks good. A third win over aging and tired-looking Golovkin, not so good, but it's kind of what I expect to see.
Swaggy Taggy in the chat says he'd like to see Demetrius Andrade against Derevchenko possibly. If there's not going to be a rematch, they'll have to stitch him up first. Talking of stitch-ups, rapping Rob Kelly's on the call. How are you, Rob?
Can you hear me,
Rob? Yep, can hear you now, sir.
Yeah,
just talking about the Derevchenko-Golovkin fight.
Well, I just finished up wrapping up an episode of my own podcast that I'm obviously branching out to do, rapping between their homes with Rob Kelly. So I just said I'd come on and say farewell to the team before I head off to Ventures New. Sorry, go ahead, Steve.
No, I was just going to say, just before you give all the rapping behind the ropes listeners all of the good stuff, tell us about this gruelling fight last night. I mean, the optics, quite literally, were not good for Derevchenko. He spent most of the fight running around with a great big gash on the side of his face. He looked like someone who was getting bust up, but in reality, he was always pitching, winning rounds on your card, and he put in a damn good performance. You thought that he won the fight?
I thought he shaded it. Yeah, I didn't. I said it was a robbery the first time I watched it. But forgive me. I have about 11 hours of jet lag. But I watched it again this evening, and I think definitely, like, if it's the other way around and that's a close fight, and Golovkin is putting in the same performance as Derevchenko, they're going to give the nod to Golovkin. I thought obviously the knockdown plays a factor. I thought maximum you give a draw. I think Golovkin said that himself to Sergey. The maximum I got from this fight should have been a draw, and I think he knew. His body language after the fight was that of a beaten man. He didn't put his hands up. He said when the crowd were booing the decision, he said, I haven't been focused enough in this camp. Now, alluded to that a little bit with Golovkin on the pod with his hidey-hole blazers and his big sunglasses and his newfound superstardom on his DAZN contract. Maybe he's taking the eye off the ball. I think it's a little bit more likely that he's breaking down with age, just pure age. And it's a real pity for Golovkin, to be honest with you, the way this has played out. Because 5-6 years ago, he was the most avoided man in the sport of boxing. Cotto didn't want to fight with him. Sergio ducked him. Canelo ducked him for long enough until he got juiced up to the gills and then eventually took it. Somehow Golovkin comes out of looking like the bad guy in that situation. It's incredible. Canelo's the one caught open. Further allegations and needle marks on his ribs in the run up to the second fight. Golovkin takes the fight. I thought he was a winner in the first fight, but I thought Canelo won the second fight. Then he fights this guy, young, hungry lion, Derevchenko. I said before, this guy doesn't really light my fire. He showed me something different last night. I'd love to know what the testing situation is for that fight. But somehow, I feel bad for him that he hasn't had his career-defining win, Golovkin, because he was so avoided. There's no doubt he would have beaten Sergio Martinez. No doubt he would have beaten Cotto, smaller guys than him. I think he would have drubbed him, but he didn't get the opportunity to do it. And then he doesn't get the rub of the green in the first Canelo fight, and now he gets a gift decision last night. But in my view, where does he go from here? 37 years of age. There's guys out now that see a way to beat him. Like, we never saw Golovkin getting backed up like that. Even in the Canelo fight, when Canelo hit him with the full armory, his chin, he barely moved. But when Derevchenko was able to find the body even better than Canelo did, he was backing him up, he was pushing him out. And I think I said before on this pod, I think Golovkin got old in the second half of the Danny Jacobs fight. Not the Canelo fight, not this one, and not the second Canelo fight, but in the second half of the Danny Jacobs fight, the mystique started to disappear a little bit. And to be honest with you, he's always had the surgical jab since the days of the amateurs, and he's built everything off the jab in his pro career, sets up everything. But I thought, like, in those two Canelo fights, I rewatched them recently, very, very messy compared to his earlier days. He pushes a bit with the jab. He's not as clinical with it. He's rushing some of his work. It's just all a little bit untidy. And look, Father Time waits for no man. The miles on that clock are serious with the amateur career. He's fought at the highest level there for the bones of 8-9 years in the middleweight division. He really was the man. Wouldn't be surprised. I don't think he's going to retire because there's too much money on this DAZN contract, but it's just a case of we're seeing a fading star at the moment. I think we're seeing a guy who's faded from what he was, and that's no disrespect to Derevchenko. He puts on the performance of a lifetime, doesn't get the rub, but I think Golovkin has faded. The writing's been on the wall that he's faded for the last few years, and it's only a matter of time before I believe someone stops him. So sad to see, because I've been such a big fan of Golovkin. He was brilliant, absolutely brilliant, and he brought a new interest back into boxing from casuals who were hearing about this monster from Eastern Europe with the voice like Borat, who was knocking people over left, right and centre with these chilling knockouts and one-punch knockouts. So it's kind of sad to see this, but changing of the guards happen all the time in boxing, so it's just what we expect from watching over the years. But I'm not sure about this relationship with Jonathan Banks. Is there anything to be made about this? He needs focus in the camp, but going to hospital at the end of a fight with Derevchenko for Golovkin would have been an impossible angle that we would have never seen coming 2-3 years ago. So
Rob, I don't think it matters who's in the corner. I don't want to disrespect Banks too much and say he's just a spit bucket guy, but what he's supposed to do with someone of Golovkin's experience now, really, other than a few little tweaks here and there, maybe a bit of sparring, a bit of nutrition.
Yeah, Well, that's kind of what I'm getting at. I don't know if there's anything to be said about that, because he's immediately talking about, I lost focus. And you remember a couple of sluggish performances from Golovkin previously, and Loeffler's rolling out the flu. Now, maybe the guy did have the flu, but they've rolled that out 3 times before. I think in the Brook fight there was talk that he had the flu, and in the Gabriel Rosado fight they said he had the flu. So he gets the flu a lot. He gets the flu so much he wanted to be going for the old test, you know what I mean? No,
the flu jab in boots.
The flu could kill you. The flu could kill you at the wrong time. So I don't know. Like I thought that was a ready-made excuse. Said he was jumping for it last night as well, because he's seen his DAZN thing go down the shitter. Like, I've just been back from a week in the States. Let me tell you something. DAZN is not lighting anybody on fire over there. They don't give a shit about it. Like, it's very, very far down the pecking order. So they're losing serious money. Eddie obviously has the cross promotional deal with GGG Promotions, and he needs some ROI. They need some return on investment on Golovkin and Canelo, and he has to do everything he can to scramble. So they're jumping out with that flu excuse straight away. And when they start to come out with excuses and things like that, Loeffler as well, that's to me another indicator that he lost the fight. Like, so, look, sad, as I said, sad to see. I don't want to go over old ground too much. Sad to see Golovkin fading in front of our eyes, but happens to him all, and he's 37 years of age. He's not going to go on forever. So, like I said, I think it's only a matter of time now before someone stops him.
Super breakdown there, everybody, from Rapping Rob Kelly. As expected, episode 343 of the Asylum Nuthouse podcast. You might be listening to Rob on mixler.com/Boxing Asylum on Sunday evening at 8 o'clock. You might be hearing him on the Patreon RSS feed, or on YouTube, Facebook, iTunes, Soundcloud on a Monday. Not BitChute though. I had to sack that off. It's taking too long to upload, to be honest. Don't forget to rate and review the pod wherever you find it. Let the providers know that you love us. You love Rob, Andy, Gabe, myself maybe, who knows. Yep, Rob Kelly, getting a bit of love there from Jason Chukwu in the chat. Always good to see. Andy, before we weigh in on the undercard, weigh in finally on Triple G. Where do you think going forward for him and for Mr. Derevchenko? Where do you think he will go, and where would you like to see both guys go now?
As I says, I want to see a rematch. Obviously, it depends on IBF politics. We all know they're stringent with the mandatories and stuff. So if Camille Zezmeta, if he gets the mandatory nod, which he probably will next, actually. Saying that, the IBF might look at it and say, okay, that was a closest fight that probably merits a rematch, and the poll has probably got to wait. He'll probably get slotted in at number 2, or he might get a box off with Danny Jacobs, which I think would be... Jacobs will still be Hearn, I think, so I think about a decent undercard fight in that for that type of event, but I'm pretty meh about a Canelo third fight at the minute. So yeah, as I says, it was a really good fight. As I says, it passed quick for me. So rematch fight for me next.
Yeah, Jacobs is still advised by Al Heyman, as is Derevyanchenko. He's got his greasy paws all over him as well. Notice Sam Watson in the corner there last night. Al advises Derevyanchenko as well. Onto the undercard then, Andy. I know I saw absolutely none of it, couldn't get anything. I know you saw Madrimov, will come to that very shortly. Ivan Baranchyk with a 4th round knockout win over Gabe Bracero. Keeps himself relevant, I suppose, Baranchyk. We know he can punch, he can definitely get back into the mix at super lightweight. One fight that I am looking forward to seeing when I catch up with it this week is Ali Akhmedov, super middleweight, another one of our Kazakhs, gone to 16-0 with 12 knockouts. He's looking the part on the statistics anyway. 1st round knockout over Andrew Hernandez. And also Israel Madrimov, mentioned in there, 4-0 now against Alejandro Barrera. He'd already lost to Carlos Adames, he'd been knocked out by Errol Spence, so this was a bit of a yardstick. But considering, Andy, that Madrimov is only 4-0 now, to knock out a guy of this experience, Barrera, nearly 35 fights in the 5th round, he's going to be someone who's going to be knocking on the door of world titles, I think, sooner rather than later.
Yeah, well, they're wanting title fights next, I think, pretty soon. I think, what is he, a light middleweight? I think he's a light middleweight. I can't remember whose title he's meant to be in line for, but
the WBA, Andy, is quite highly ranked with.
Is he? Right, so again, he was impressive to the point where he's basically in there to destroy his opponent. He gets called Baby G, like Baby Golovkin, because he looks like him and stuff. But yeah, I'm impressed with him, but I would like to see him work on his jab just to kind of get into distance and stuff. Okay, he's okay at the training camp and stuff, but he blasted through him. I just thought he felt like he could step in there and just kind of like, blow him at will and stuff. I just like to have seen him set it up a wee bit better, but impressive nonetheless. Like you, I've been trying to get a hold of the Medal fight. I'd actually forgot to record last night's show actually when I got up this morning, so I only caught the Golovkin and I caught Madrimov, so I will catch up with the other one. Christ, they're at minimum going about the new and stuff, Steve.
Akhmedov, yeah.
You got Zorov, remember that one for last week, Rakimov as well, that chaos in South Africa as well. We could maybe just touch on that a wee bit later on and stuff. So I will catch up with the other undercard fight and stuff as well, but I think my Madrimov will basically be kind of looking for a world title fight. Maybe, if not his next fight, definitely 2 fights time.
Yeah, I'll be coming to you on South Africa shortly to mention that, because Take Ames did tweet me through the week as well. The absolute madness on the undercard, Rob. Joe Ward making his debut against Marco Delgado, 6-rounder. It wasn't supposed to end this way. I know we've gone through it before, and remember Ward, 17, passing of the torch, beating Kenny Egan. This is a damn big deal. He fell back on his leg, dropped on his own leg in the 2nd round. Do you think he was faking it, Rob?
No, when I saw the lump the size of 2 tennis balls on his knee, I knew he wasn't faking it. Like, it's kind of ominous for Joe Ward, because within the Irish boxing community, it's pretty well known that his focus is difficult. Focusing is not one of his strengths. And I don't know where a setback like this is going to put him. I hope to see him make a full recovery and make up for that as he goes along.
Rob.
Yeah, well, if that's a recurring injury, like, that's going to be ominous for him in his career. Like, but
Paddy Barnes was tweeting about that.
Well, Joe Ward was like, Jesus, as an amateur, like, absolutely unbelievable. World gold medalist, like, but he can be his own worst enemy at times, and I just don't know where this is going to put him as a pro. How this damage is going to affect him, and like I said, if Barnes is saying this is a recurring injury, who knows where he's going to end up. I would have liked to see him turn pro earlier. And he's a hellacious puncher as well, so I would have liked to see how his style would have transgressed into the professional ranks. Like, but yeah, really tough for him. Like, come on, like, the first he's got a good style too, Joe Ward. So I think he would have been kind of made for the pros had he turned over a little bit earlier. But after an injury like this, it's going to be, who knows really where he could come back and go on a roll. Really, you only need 10 fights these days with a decorated amateur career to get yourself a world title shot. So provided he could come back and win all 10 fights in a row, he'd probably put himself in the mix. But yeah, an unfortunate end for Joe Ward last night. And as far as Madrimov, I saw the dream. Yeah. I'm impressed by that guy. He did what he wanted with him, really, from a guy that's only really been stopped by Errol Spence.
That's what I was saying.
Showed complete disregard for him and toyed with him and can punch in it. And he's got that Eastern European style where he comes around the side now that you see Lomachenko and a lot of the Eastern European fighters doing, and some American fighters trying to adopt it, where he gets around the side and then throws the punch from a different angle. So, yeah, exciting, man, to see him in the mix at 154. I wouldn't mind seeing him versus Lara or someone at 154, one of the top guys, fairly shortly. Like, he looks like he has everything. I'd agree with Andy that I'd like to see him set the shots up more, and I think he probably would do that against a higher caliber opponent, but he's thinking to himself last night, I'm sure, chief support for Golovkin, Madison Square Garden, I'm going to put on a show. You know, he did a lot of dropping his hands and uppercuts from strange angles and stuff, no real setup to the work, but he didn't need it.
Sorry, see if he doesn't get a title fight next. And you know how the 154 division was on notice when Kell Brook just like Wade laced kind of Rabchenko and that. I would love to see Madrimov and Kell Brook like just as a warm-up fight as Brook comes back and overtake the world, you know.
There's no way unless Eddie wants to cash Kell out, like unless he wants to cash him out and he doesn't,
kill him.
He knows there's not another fight and he's trying to build Madrimov, kill him off forever. But yeah, I'd watch it. I think it'd be a good fight. I'm sure Kell will be very happy today anyway, seeing as he laid down the blueprint on how to beat Golovkin by losing to him. So but yeah, Madrimov I'm impressed by, definitely. Breath of fresh air.
Make it, Eddie. Make that fight.
Evening, Eddie.
Hi, Eddie. Good evening, son. How you doing?
Yeah. Kell Brook's been spouting about it.
Have you had a couple of beers tonight? A few tequilas? A little bit loosey-goosey?
Plenty of Kell Brook nominations in Bellew of the Week later. He's talking about the blueprint indeed. Over in Denmark over the weekend, not going to dwell on this, Patrick Nielsen got a win. Ashley Theophane also got a win on the road. Shame there was no GBU title or anything like that. He beat Kasim Uma. I don't know why he's still fighting, but he lost anyway on points to Ashley Theophane. In his prime, Uma would have toyed with someone like Ashley Theophane. No disrespect to him. He's still getting gigs, so what can you say? Gabe, do you have anything to add on the Triple G undercard? If not, I have more stuff for you, but if you do, then please go ahead.
No, I didn't watch anything else on the undercard.
One thing I want to mention to you then, Gabe, over on Showtime, it was supposed to be headlined by Clarissa Shields against this Miss Habazin. But of course, there were these rats were at it again, smashing James Ali Bashir, Habazin's coach, from behind, sucker punch. Was it one of the Durrells? Was it one of these Lawsons? Can't say. Absolutely not clear who sucker punched him from what I know. But I mean, it's just an absolutely ridiculous situation. Then Clarissa coming out afterwards, just a lack of class, saying that Habazin is trying to duck her. She's looking for excuses. Her coach is there on the floor, covered in blood, jaws hanging off like Arthur Abraham against Edison Miranda. It's just a disgusting situation, Gabe. I don't even know what to say. I don't want to start virtue signalling or anything, but what the fuck are you thinking of? Like, hitting this old guy from behind like an absolute pussy move, sucker punching him like that. The whole thing got called off. Showtime disappearing down the tubes as well, now the same way as HBO. What do you make of this, Gabe?
Well, that's what they should have expected, getting into bed with Heyman. Al Heyman does whatever the fuck he wants to do. So Showtime is no surprise going the way of HBO. But the primary question, like you had, I mean, it's just a lawlessness, scumbag, scumfuck mentality of someone who would go do this. You know, I don't want to make myself sound like an old codger or anything along those lines, but I'm sure it was the way of you guys whenever you were young kids. You know, if you didn't like somebody, if you had a problem with somebody, you were going to fight them, you fought them, and when they went down and you had knocked them out, that was it. It's over. It's done. You go away, walk off, and you know, if you got knocked out, your pride was wounded, but you lived to fight another day. And these fucking scumfuck people like this, not even a person, just a scumfuck. I'm going to stop with scumfuck. Go around doing this kind of nonsense, hitting somebody from behind, knocking them cold onto a concrete fucking floor. I mean, Jesus Christ, who the fuck does that? You know, if something terrible happens to that guy, you're facing a manslaughter charge. You know, I mean, I don't get the mentality of doing something like that for one, knowing the repercussions that could come from something like that. So an intelligent person, maybe still a scumbag, but an intelligent person would say, well, perhaps I better not do this so I don't get a fucking, you know, a bad charge on my case and maybe spend the rest of my life in jail. The other average person with a decent personality, a human being, and a smart person might say, well, maybe it's best to let these two gals settle in the ring and just leave it at that, because that's what the whole thing is for. I mean, you can sit here and carry on about all these other alternative mindsets and possibilities that come into an equation when things are not going well. But the primary issue is, if you are the fighter, you are making the team. You have the responsibility of having non-scumfucks in your team. And, you know, it's not always fair, but you guys know life is not fucking fair for shields to be necessarily correlated with some bullshit like that happens. But if you act like a scumfuck, or you have scumfucks on your team, that's typically the way you're going to be viewed. And I think that's the way a lot of people are going to view Clarissa Shields now. Obviously, I don't like her anyway from the start. Not that I have some big, huge ordeal against her or some big bias. I don't like the way she runs her mouth. I don't think she's very much of a person that I would want to be associated with, just because of the way she carries herself and behaves. But it's one thing to be a bit of a brash person. It's another thing to be a bit of a scumfuck and have people like that on your team that go around sucker punching old guys, knocking them to the floor. And then, I'm not sure if it was actually ever verified, but there were some tweets out there saying that he had to go in for emergency surgery. I don't know if that's true. Did any of you guys hear any confirmation of that?
Yeah, some facial reconstruction or something immediately, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just think about what that means. Think about what happened there. That's a serious thing to have happen. You know, I mean, I think we've all been in positions where we've been mad or irritated, aggravated, whatever fucking term you want to put on it, pissed off. But better to be pissed off than pissed on, and much better to keep your ass out of jail and have a decent scrap where a man can defend himself.
That's what I'm saying, Gabe. It's never clean with them,
all.
is it? It's never clean. It's always sucker punches or cheap shots that you never see coming.
But that's the way these kids are raised these days. Nobody takes their time to tell their kids, you know, hey, yeah, I'm sure little Andy Jr. one day is going to be told, hey, if you got a problem with somebody, you settle it. I'm not telling you how to raise your kid, obviously, but I would assume, knowing how we feel about this kind of nonsense, I mean, that's the kind of discussion that I've had with my kids, my two boys, about if you need to have a confrontation, you have the fucking confrontation and let it go. But you don't hit people from behind. You don't punch people. You don't kick them in the face whenever they're obviously knocked the fuck out already, like you see all these little scumbag bastards doing these days. I mean, it's just disgusting. It's sickening. And it wouldn't hurt my feelings at all to never have to see Clarissa Shields nor any of her scumfuck team again.
There's a couple of factors at play. Right? And I'm not defending anybody here for what's done. It was absolutely deplorable. And I was a victim of that myself. I was playing a show one time. It got, in Blanchardstown, it got heavily infiltrated by guys who were gang affiliated in Ireland at the time. Fight broke out with the bouncers. I caught a stray one. Now, they hit me in the eye, but to tell you, for getting hit from behind, you don't know where you are. I ended up on the deck, and Gabe was alluding to me and this guy are tussling, and I'm on the deck, and, you know, I'm thinking we're having a fair one, and all of a sudden the boys are kicking me like a freestyle. So I only managed to get out because some birds shouted, and I got up and managed to get away, and the bouncers got in between, and I managed to escape. But the last time you see a fair fight is in the Western. Now, having said that, there's a certain demographic that travel with fighters, and fighters generally don't come from nice places, right? So you're going to have an element of that in the entourage all the time. And as I always say to people, even in the music business, don't be around people that have nothing to lose if you have something to lose, because they're going to fucking eventually bring you down to that level. Now, the man was very confrontational to the entourage. He said to the girl that if she keeps acting like a man, he's going to show her that she's not a man and break her jaw, right? And he did say that, and he's on camera saying that. Now, you have to understand who you're dealing with. You say that to somebody in that, and he said it to her, sit your monkey ass down or I'm going to slap you in the face. So he said that to her over and over. Now, who are you dealing with here? You're dealing with people from the hood who are going to jump you if you say things like that. So to be honest with you, he was a little bit naive to think that just because he was at a press conference that if he said something like that he wouldn't there wouldn't be repercussions for it. Now, I don't know what she said to him first. She could have said way worse than that, right? She could have said way worse than that, and that's what got him all fired up in the first place, because at the end of the day, he is an old man. But he did say that. So, you know, yeah, every action has a reaction, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, I don't know what she said to him, but this kind of shit can't be happening at fights, you know what I mean? So that's why I'm always talking about these young fighters that have big entourages who are coming from nothing. and they're just there for the ride. They're leeches. They're, as I have friends in the music industry who sold platinum records, and at the time when they were famous, they had 100 best friends, and then they're not selling records anymore, and they don't get phone calls from anybody. You know what I mean? So these people are leeches. They're looking to be part of something. They're looking to have a bit of clout, and to them, an opportunity like that to show themselves, like that they're, you know what I'm saying, that they're on your team, they're riding for you, they're with you, they'll smack somebody in the face for you. It's like Broner's entourage. All these guys are always getting into confrontations with everywhere they go because everybody's pumped up, don't want to lose their spot on the team. And if your team is like that, shit is like that, that's going to happen for you. I in no way feel sorry for Clarissa Shields. I'm not saying she instigated it, but she often talks about hitting men as well. And she said, she said in that video that she's a fighter and she would never want to fight a man, but she wanted to fight Golovkin a few months ago. So she puts that kind of energy out there as well. I think she's a dingbat. I think she's a very good fighter, but personality-wise, I just think she's a complete creep and a cretin.
She's very young as well, isn't she?
She is. Like, she doesn't seem like, in fairness, she doesn't seem like the brightest spark in the world, but what fighter is a lot of the time. But look at.
Well, I would agree with you, Rob. Though I think that you're semi accurate in your discussion. Though I mean, I think anytime if you go to, I mean, think about the average person who's going to go into the fucking hood and call somebody a fucking monkey. That's a pretty goddamn stupid thing to do. But
he's coming from the same background.
They would be able to control themselves to an extent that, I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying either side was right, but the old saying "two wrongs don't make a right" is absolutely at play. I mean, like you said, you got to know what you're dealing with anyway, though. I mean, even if I was a manager, trainer, fighter, whatever, you don't go to a fucking press conference and call somebody a fucking monkey. That's the stupidest goddamn thing you could do.
Generally, if common sense is at play. Well, generally, if common sense is at play and you're in a situation where there's going to be a bit of a confrontation, you're assessing the situation, you know what I mean? And I don't think he was making the right assessment. Not saying he deserved it, he definitely didn't. You can't sucker punch. Don't hit anybody from the back, like Gabe said, face him up. But at the same time, it's 2019 and all values are all values, you know what I mean? And I don't know, you're talking about Andy Jr. My dad used to always tell me, hit him first. Because you don't want to have the conversation. You start arguing with somebody and you're giving them the opportunity to hit you first. Like, so if you feel that it's going to go that way, try and get the first one in. So I don't know, but look, that's different. We're digressing a little bit. I think we all agree it can't be at that kind of shit at press conferences. It's awful for the sport. It's bad for her now. She loses a payday, and the other girl who did nothing is losing her big opportunity too. So it's just bullshit, like, isn't it? And to be honest with you, they're putting too much focus on women's boxing and Clarissa Shields. Nobody gives a shit anyway. If she didn't open her mouth, nobody would.
Yeah, she's toxic,
truthfully, if she didn't open her mouth, why would we wouldn't even be talking about her. Talking about her.
She's toxic now.
She's bad. She's bad news. Like, so, we wouldn't even talk about her if she didn't have a Twitter. Simple as that.
Yeah, I think in conclusion I would say that James Bashir Ali took proceedings down a notch, and then whoever hit him, this Mr. Mack, took things down another notch after that. I think that would be the conclusion that I would come to. Like you say, two wrongs don't make a right. I think Mr. Ali was wrong, but the other guy was more wrong. Yeah.
Just to add to it, and not defending Clarissa Shields, but someone from her entourage did say to him, "Oh man, settle down. Like, you can't be saying that. Like, don't be saying that." And he didn't stop. Like, he said it again. So it was like, I don't know, but anyway, yeah, not more to be said, really.
No, I agree, Rob. Moving on, Andy, Take Ames tweeted me during the week. He said, put the sound on, and the commentary, this is the type of commentary you need to turn up. Some great stuff here over in South Africa. Mayweather comparisons and a Chris Algieri out the cage moment. He was talking about Rakimov against Fusili. Good fight, well worth a watch. Me and you both watched it, but there was something amiss, Andy, something funny going on here. Panama Lewis in the corner. What's the breakdown on the South African fight and the scandal?
Panama Lewis in the corner and fucking Victor Conte in the hotel room. Fucking hell, man. This is, people going to be like boxing being the wild west. This is the prototype for it. Take Ames messaged me and all, but I knew about the fight, but I actually hadn't got a chance to get around to watching it. I mean, Take Ames actually came and messaged me and stuff. I actually went away and stuck it on straight away, and thank God I did, because fucking hell. I did find out some other stuff on the back end of that as well, but first of all, what a fight. Rakimov. That I don't know if you noticed something, Steve, but he actually had Fuseli in the corner at one point, and he tried to kind of work an angle. And but by working that angle, he actually turned Fuseli, and he found himself with his back to the corner. I was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" You went for a very good position there to actually get yourself trapped in the corner like an idiot. So what's happened here is it was a very hard fight. Rakimov is a very, very heavy-handed fighter and stuff. And what happened was, I think he got cut, Steve. Am I right in saying that?
Yep.
Early in the fight with a headbutt. It looked deliberate, or he thought it was deliberate at least. So he came out and he was fucking raging. He was throwing headbutts and stuff. He was throwing low blows. He wasn't giving a fuck, man. He was going in there, total bad dude, this guy, right? So he's putting a lot of effort into this fight, and you can see he's kind of wearing on the South African a little bit. So after the 7th round, he's sitting in the corner, and you just see it coming in right under his nose, and he starts getting that kind of shake and scrunch up of the face, smelling salts, baby. Supposedly, they're not illegal. Some sports do allow it, but they are banned in boxing. However, I did find out something on Twitter the other day there, actually, because somebody had tweeted out the paraphernalia, shall we say, found in Rakimov's hotel room, which was apparently, what was the name of it again? I think it was something along the lines of nicotine and some sort of kind of phosphocreatine or something like that. Now, as I understand it, I don't know if both substances are actually banned. I know nicotine was the one that the Juventus players were kind of caught taking back in the day, when like Fabio Cannavaro and all those guys and stuff. And creatine, I'm assuming I think it's used quite widely in that as well. So there was a lot of kind of tubing and syringes. It just looked like a proper fucking pharmaceutical.
Do you not think though, Andy, it sounds a bit weird? Why would you abandon your hotel room and leave like syringes lying on the table? It all sounds a bit it doesn't sound right to me. And you'd leave like bottles lying around in a unused room with neoton and phosphocreatine written all over it, syringes next to it. It sounds a bit frigging passports at the flipping Twin Towers to me, man. I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, there's a guy appeared on Twitter when those pictures apparently appeared. As I say, it's boxing's the Wild Wild West. Now, remember I mentioned about that Mickey Nielsen failed on a drugs test in South Africa?
Yes,
and he was allowed to go ahead and continue his career. Wasn't he banned or anything like that? So a fella called Colin Nathan appeared on Twitter, and he's apparently some sort of kind of South African person. I don't know if he's a South African, but he's like head of MTK Africa or something like that. Yes, and he said, apparently someone says that it's illegal in the corner, which I said was absolutely correct. However, this Colin Nathan's apparently come out and says that the IBF will follow local commission rules. In this instance, it's boxing South Africa. So, but he never mentioned anything if the smelling salts were deemed legal in South Africa. But I'm taking for that tweet that it is legal in South Africa, because if you go and watch that between the 7th and 8th round, fucking Rakimov takes a sniff of that. I've buzzed it once myself, actually. It does give you a proper jolt. He came out in that 8th round, Steve, didn't he? And he absolutely laid waste to Fuseli.
He was behind as well. He needed that.
Yep. Needed that stoppage. He came out there and absolutely laid waste to the guy. I was like, oh. But so I think Fuseli's corner's going to be putting an appeal against this and stuff. But if Colin Nathan's saying is true, it's likely to fail at the first hurdle, because it's looking like the smelling salts were legal, unless they're going to try and hinge it on the creatine and the neoton. But if again, in some countries that stuff's probably legal, in some countries it's not. I don't know if the why the code's involved here. I don't know. It's a whole mess, and it's been all kind of quiet since saying that's been what is that now? That's a week since the fight. So who knows? It's a shady situation all round, like.
A seriously bizarre situation. Hopefully there'll be some resolution, but a few of the things just don't add up for me. No doubt Boxing South Africa will get to the bottom of it, I don't think. Let's move on. Friday the 4th of October, the Golden Contract, Willy Wonka's Golden Contract over in York Hall. I expected it to be a decent show, certainly was. Jazza Dickens got through against Carlos Ramos. Tyrone McCullough beat Razak Najib. Missed all of that because I was out at taking my 7-year-old to local wrestling. That's a new story in itself. Jesus Christ. You think the boxing's bad? Anyway, Rapimov Kelly, David Oliver...
That was a free-for-all, eh?
Oh, it was the kids running around trying to get into the ring, all the hood rats flipping throwing chairs at the wrestlers. It was quite the experience, man. Wrestling.ie. I don't think I'll be going there again.
The boys love me, A few of them come out to one of his songs. I can't remember their names. It's Butch or something on the Irish wrestling circuit, and Your man is a fan of me as well. Not to be blowing me on trumpet. Finn Balor.
Who's not a fan of you, Rob? Who's not a fan of you?
This is it, Steve. This is it. No, apparently some of the wrestlers in the WWE were playing my stuff behind the scenes, and they fucking all got onto it. Anyway, long story short, I wish some of the boxers would do it. Where were we?
No, Take Ames was asking me, who did you see at the wrestling? No, it was nobody.
Oh, yeah.
It was like sort of imitation wrestlers, Ames.
Yeah.
You hadn't got the Undertaker. It was the Gravedigger, and we had a Corporal Manslaughter and all the
Midget
all these
Haystacks.
Corporal manslaughter. Jesus.
Yeah.
Big Mommy.
That's Small Daddy and Midget Haystacks.
Superfly Tommy Puka. It was all this type of stuff.
That is some brutal comedy, man.
Brutal comedy,
Yeah.
and he's slaughtering us.
Anyway, sorry Rob, I was taking you away from the golden contract. I expected David Oliver Joyce to go quite far in this. A show of confidence from Lee Wood picking him in this first round. Fair play to Lee Wood. I thought he got his tactics absolutely spot on. Dropped Joyce in the second, dropped him in the seventh, hurt him as well, got the ninth round KO. I thought he was the big winner, even though Ryan Walsh got the win as well against Hiron Sakaras, who Gabe had picked to win the whole tournament. Did you see anything in the contract, Rob?
Absolutely none of it. I haven't a clue what you're talking about.
I've got it ready, but I can't watch it. I won't be able to watch any of it until after we get done with the show. But I did read that Sokaros got fucking blitzed out of there. I was surprised by that. If you guys, I don't know how familiar you guys are with him, but he's been around for a while. He's not a spring chicken anymore, but he hadn't relatively had too many fights and too many, obviously, of note. But I think he was kind of a guy they were looking at being a prospect. But I think being another one of those Cuban guys, I think part of his issue was that he just doesn't stay focused long enough to really put together a string of noticeable fights or really any noticeable victories. I think he just does it to kind of pass time and keep money in his pocket. But, I mean, the kid has always been, I thought, pretty good. He's had some close fights before. I think he's got a couple draws on his record. But in terms of intangibles, he's really quick, pretty powerful. So I was surprised to see that he got put out so early. I kind of figured possibly later on in the tournament maybe he might get kind of knocked down a few pegs. But I was definitely surprised by hearing that result. Obviously, again, like I said, I haven't seen it, but reading about it made it sound like he got put on his ass pretty well.
Well, Sakaras has got 3 draws, and he gave a good account of himself. I'd never heard of him before the tournament. I'd never seen him fight before, but he was in against a very experienced, high-quality operator in Ryan Walsh. I really do rate Walsh. He's been an excellent fighter at the domestic scene. He's stepped up as well at times. He's a good switch hitter, which leads me into this next question, Rob. Maybe you'll have more joy with this, from Ant over on patreon.com/Boxing Asylum. He says, Rob, to you, why do you think the Walsh brothers have never really had any proper backing from a top promoter? They are clearly talented fighters and always have a good following at their fights. He's absolutely right about that, and I said back to Ant, to be fair now, Ryan Walsh had a lot of British title fights. Frank got him the European title opportunity, which didn't go his way, against Dennis Cellon, and Liam Walsh got the fight against Gervonta Davis for the IBF, so they haven't been too hard done to, but they're both talented kids.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's hard to know. Sometimes there's more at stake than just selling a few tickets, although that is a big factor, but sometimes fellas need the X factor. And when there's tons of domestic guys, some guys are just better at selling the TV than others. Like, and maybe the numbers don't show for the lads. Like, but good little bunch of fighters and game. Every one of them is game. So you would like to see them on the bigger spotlight. But it's a fucking saturated market out there. There's tons of fighters now, and it's as you're seeing more and more, the networks are looking for stars because they want ROI. So whether you're good or not, or whether you sell a few tickets locally, is not really the altogether defining factor. You have to have the star quality or whatever to shine through these days. It's just unfortunate, but you're seeing it more and more. I mean, it's creeping into the UK now more too, but in the States, that's what it is now. Look at Ryan Garcia. He's holding his promoter to ransom to get a pay rise before he's even won a world title. It's unbelievable because he's big on Instagram. So, you know, when you see this kind of KSI and Logan Paul thing creeping in and all as well, you know, it's more and more to do with numbers ever than now, with so much competition and streaming and all this. So some guys just get left behind.
Yeah, MB in the chat said it's the area of the country they're from. Promoters don't tend to put shows on there. Obviously over in Norwich, Norfolk, they have good fans, but can they do arenas? Well, no. They can't, but they bring them down to the likes of the York Hall. And I do like Ryan Walsh on the domestic scene, think he's very talented. As for Liam, not really sure where he's going to go. Javonta Davis did expose him to a certain extent, thought he'd do a lot better in that fight. But Javonta Davis is a special talent. We all know about that. Episode 343 of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast. Rob Kelly's still with us. Gabe's with us. So's Andy. Plenty of action in the chat. Shout out to everybody there. Everybody listening at home as well on Twitter. If you want to come on the show, hit me up before 9:30 and we will get you on. A few more questions are coming from the boys. We'll go to them very shortly. Before we do so, I was hoping Ozzy would be on, or maybe Smido. Could have talked a bit of Golden Contract, talked about this Ulster Hall show next week, but alas, they have not joined us. Gabe, during the week, I was thinking to myself, Chad Dawson, he's a good fighter. Always liked Chad Dawson, really talented. Remember seeing him for the first time on the Calzaghe-Kessler undercard, beating up a guy called Jamie Hearn. Don't know if he's any relation to Eddie. And then he went and outboxed Thomas Adamek, going places, had the weight struggles against Andre Ward. For whatever reason, bit of synchronicity, Gabe. He's turned up on the schedule here next Friday night in Connecticut. He's coming back. Chad Dawson, the WBC light heavyweight title against Denis Grachev. Why on earth they're fighting for a vacant title? WBC over 8 rounds, who knows? But anyway, as for Bad Chad, can he reclaim the glory days, Gabe? Or are we just going to have to look at the old tapes and remember how he used to be?
I'm shocked of what you just told me. Now, I know that he'd been... I mean, I guess I would put a term of semi-active. I mean, I've seen him pop up a time or two on some schedules, but nothing TV, nothing big time. But for a fucking title, wow, that surprises the hell out of me. Look, Chad Dawson, I mean, I think at his peak, he was an extremely confident, well-schooled, intangible fighter. I think a little bit of what we saw with Chad Dawson, though, was just a bit of inability to focus. I think it really kind of things turned around for him whenever he lost to Jean Pascal in their title fight. I remember watching that on HBO ages ago now. It seems like ages ago. It may not honestly have been that long ago, but it feels like ages now. I'm thinking Chad Dawson, I mean, he's looking okay, not great. Looks like he's going to make his way out of this fight with his victory. And then the typical Jean Pascal move with a headbutt caused a pretty good gash to stop the fight, I think. And I guess they had Pascal up. I think it was still a pretty close fight, though. Anyway, I don't know, man. I mean, it's just kind of weird to hear him coming back and then not have a big following or not have a big news release or anything like that for a guy who at one point was the dominant fighter in the division. I mean, if you think back about it, the kid was really going places. He had a good, solid stretch of wins. Aside from his first fight with Past Hopkins, his second one, I mean, he pretty much controlled the ageless Bernard Hopkins, and this was before Bernard was the oldest man in the game. Still not a young chicken at that time, too, for those of us that maybe weren't around then, or maybe some of our listeners that weren't familiar with that point in time. But I mean, Chad Dawson was always just a really solid fighter. Never what I saw as being a elite level fighter, but always very tremendous fighter. Very talented, very skilled. For him to be coming back, I can't really imagine any way, form, or fashion that he's even 50% of what he used to be. Of course, I've been wrong before, obviously, with the Sokaras pick, and many others before. But, I mean, I don't see it. I don't see how a guy could be probably fighting the level of competition he's fought as of his last few fights, and maintaining whatever limited activity he's maintained, coming back and being anything close to what he was. But I will say, I think that when a fighter is well schooled, like Chad Dawson was, a fighter knows the game, knows how to fight. I mean, it's always a potential for him to have a flashback type fight where he looks good, looks like he used to, looks really nice. It doesn't happen often, but it's a possibility. So I don't know. Having not seen anything of Chad Dawson in ages, I wouldn't venture to guess anything more than a shell of himself, but I guess we could find out. Hopefully there'll be some video of this one somewhere, and we can check it out and see what happens. But it's kind of shocking to me to hear the name Chad Dawson fighting for what did you say, the WBC light heavy title?
No, it's the vacant WBC UNSBC title over 8 rounds. Sounds good.
Well, it's still an international title, so whatever the fuck it is. I mean, that does set a guy up to be in a little bit better position to eventually move up. I doubt we would see Chad Dawson, if he wins the fight, get to that point. But, I mean, I guess the thought remains. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, Chad Dawson always athletically gifted in the day. It's in Connecticut. Maybe Donny will go. Guys in the chat talking about this one. Jason says Dawson ain't been the same since Ward drained him and Stevenson pimp slapped him. Jason also says Dawson... Donny, the former pod contributor, Donald Baseball Jr.
I don't know who you're talking about.
Severiano.
Yeah. He hasn't been able to sit down since he got married. Don't think they got the script. Cassius Chaney's on the undercard. Big lump of a man, 6'6", 16-0, going in against Santander Silgado. He knocked Joel Cordell out the ring in his last fight, Chaney, so he could be one to keep an eye on in the heavyweight division. These boys always get an opportunity. I'm going to throw this one out to the chat so everyone can have a good think about it. Question came in over on Patreon from one of our friends, Ryan, the real deal. He said, like this weekend's fights, as in Golovkin-Derevyanchenko, what are the best fights where a late or single knockdown has secured a close fight on the cards? So what are the best fights where there's been a late knockdown or maybe just one single knockdown has really been the difference and secured a close fight on the cards? Trying to wrap my brains on that one. Maybe the guys in the chat can come up with something. Go on.
James Tony Vasily Jurov. That was a tremendous one. I think didn't Tony knock him down late?
Yeah, but was Tony not up on the cards, on the official cards, quite wide? Instead of Harold Lederman was the only person it made a difference on his card. I think it swung it in Tony's favour. But as for the official cards, I think they might have had Tony a little bit wider. Could be wrong, Gabe. Could be wrong.
Man, I don't remember the official cards back then. All I remember was a tremendous fight. And it seems like I remember... and James Toney had another one like that, too, early in his career. Who was it? Trying to think. Damn it, Jesus. There's another James Toney fight. Hold on, I'll think of it. Go on to someone else.
Brain cells. Working overtime. Let's have a look. 2003. Vasily Giro. Yep, it was 117, 109 on 2 cards and 116, 110. So it didn't make a difference. But I think it's maybe Lederman you're thinking of. He might have had Girov up a point going into the last round. And the knockdown. And the fact Girov was nearly out, wasn't he? Do you remember Emmanuel Stewart every couple of seconds? Oh! Every time Girov got hit. And somehow he managed to last the fight. I think that's what you're maybe thinking of. Hurd versus Lara, Jason says. Great call, Jason. Jarrett Hurd's last round knockdown really made the difference.
Golovkin Jacobs.
Golovkin Jacobs, yep. That
was a late knockdown.
Audley against Sprott, but that's a late knockout, MB, I think, rather than a late knockdown, wasn't it? He came back on the shoulder.
Some fucking knockout.
Oh. Brilliant knockout from Audley. Didn't think he had it in him, Andy. Didn't think he had it in him.
He had one arm for the majority of that fight, remember? He knocked him out, what was it? I think he had the left hand or something. And he caught him a kind of like left kind of cross or something. Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, Tosh in the chat is asking what's the question. The question is, what are the best fights where a late knockdown or maybe a single knockdown across the fight has secured the fight in someone's favour? So that knockdown has really been the difference. De La Hoya Quarty, Jason says. There was a couple in that though, wasn't there? Didn't they each go down once?
There was about 3 knockdowns in that fight. Yeah. And that's one of the fights and that I remember back in the forum days and stuff. I think when we spoke about Oscar's career and that, you know, what was his fights or something that he'd lost, or the kind of closest fights that he kind of the decisions could have went either way, and that was one of the fights. And I always argued that he lost that fight, whereas people like Tommy, for example, say they maybe shaded it, but I always say there was like a 114, 112 type fight to Corte. I'm sure there was 2 knockdowns definitely in that fight, one each for each fight. I'm sure there was maybe 3 in that fight. I'm pretty certain.
Something tells me Corte might have gone down twice and De La Hoya went down once. Was it something like that, Andy?
Yeah, possibly. I
can't remember now.
I remember one thing between the Corte fight and the Stern fight was the main thing that you could see that the jab was the main thing that was causing Oscar major issues. Yeah,
Tosh says Spence the other night, Wilder as well, possibly against Fury. There you go then, Ryan. We've got quite a few for you out the blue. Didn't think we'd be able to stir too many up.
How do you guys remember James Tony Michael Nunn? That's the one I was trying to think of. I know Tony put him in the end, but
in the 11th round,
that was the knockout though, wasn't he? He was way behind on point. he was behind on points. He'd been outboxed at times by none. He was about 3 or 4 points down, but that was a knockout, come from behind knockout. I think Ryan's looking at when there's like a knockdown, has made that sort of 10-8 round, has made the difference on the cards.
Semantics. Ryan, listen to me. Trust me. Watch Tony and Michael Nunn. You'll enjoy the fight.
Semantics, he says, in response to Ryan's question. Good man, Gabe. Any others you want to throw in, boys, before we move on? Don't think there is. What have we got then, Rob? Let's find something for you, shall we? What would be of interest to you? Next Friday evening, Ulster Hall. Jay Harris. The European title's not on the line now, but the IBF Intercontinental Flyweight title is. Love that one. Sounds great, doesn't it? Against Paddy Barnes. Marco McCulloch as well, Rob. Going in against VRL Simeon. Could be an interesting fight. Sean McComb, Terry Flanagan, Lewis Crocker. Paddy Donovan making his debut. Could be one to watch. Conrad Cummings is still floating about as well. Pierce O'Leary, talented amateur, making his debut. Tell me about any of that, Rob, but especially against Jay Harris against Paddy Barnes. Paddy really has to put in a performance of a lifetime here, or he could be thrown in the towel for good. Talking about throwing in the towel, rapping Rob Kelly's thrown in the towel, he's disappeared. Don't give me any of that, he says. Piss off with your stupid questions. We'll move on then to something else. What else have we got on the agenda here? Andy. Let's go on to Josh Warrington, shall we? First direct arena Leeds. Josh Warrington defending against Sofian Takush. Zelfa Barrett on the undercard against Jordan McCorry. They're getting passed around, aren't they? McCorry getting his opportunity again. Lyndon Arthur, Troy Williamson. It's all about the main event, really. I don't begrudge Josh Warrington, Andy. This defence against Takush, he's not the greatest in the world, but he's had quite a few opportunities, hasn't he? He's had quite a few big fights, Warrington. He deserves a bit of a, not a soft touch, but something that may be a bit easier, maybe a defence in front of his home crowd. What do you think, Andy? Josh Warrington against Sofian Takush. Shall we give Warrington a pass on this one? Let him have an easier one? We're having a mare here. Took a left hook from Andy. He's not bad. Are you back with us, Rob?
Just about, yeah. I'm on a poor connection.
Right, well, I was talking to Andy about Warrington Takush there. Andy maybe just dipped out. Just before I went to him, I was coming to you on Jay Harris against Paddy Barnes. I was saying Paddy really has to put in a decent performance now because his career's on the line.
Yeah, I thought Paddy was maybe going to retire after one of the last ones. Like, I don't know.
Rosales not good.
Yeah. I thought he'd have called it a day then, but obviously there's money on the table there for him, and he's not going to walk away from it. Good performance will put him back in the mix for another big fight, but I just have me doubts over whether he's. I always say that I thought he turned over too late, and I think that's shown now as he's turned pro. Not really much more that I can say really about it. Like, he's, I just don't think he's going to cut it at the top level. I think that's obvious, and I suppose if he's just there for the money and he's got, but it's always going to be difficult night's work for Paddy now, so he's really going to have to work for the money. You know what I mean? So I guess to a stage where it's going to be worth it. But yeah, nothing really more to say on that one, Stephen.
No problem at all. It's going to be difficult for Paddy. Fancy Jay Harris to do the business there. Gabe, I believe you were just about to fly in on the Josh Warrington Takuch fight. Give me the lowdown.
Oh, well, I wasn't quite on that one. I just wanted to throw something while we were looking for the other two MIA guys that I was looking at it. And for those UFC Fight Pass subscribers, the Chad Dawson fight is apparently going to be located there for anybody that's interested in that. But I guess I'll go ahead and take a little bit of Warrington if unless Andy wants it.
No, you
what
go,
about
mate.
Warrington against Takuch? Yep, you go ahead first, Gabe, and then we'll go on to Andy after you.
I'm not real familiar with his opponent, so it's a little bit
European level operator, Gabe.
Sure, it's kind of hard for me to give an exact opinion on how the fight will go or anything along those lines. But I like Josh Warrington. I think I would prefer to see him have a little bit more of a meaningful fight, and you got to understand, especially for our fans that are overseas with you guys. I mean, to me, that statement has a bit of a dual meaning there. So it's not meant to discredit his opponent. It's simply that I haven't been made aware of him, and you got to realize that I don't get to see the same things you see. So to me, a more meaningful opponent would be somebody that has a little bit of name recognition, somebody who's probably a little bit higher on the food chain in terms of possibly making a name for themselves and having done some work that I would view as recognizable. That's a completely different thing, though, that we talk about, from me to you guys. So I'm sure maybe some of you guys, and I'm sure Oz would have probably a much better idea of his opponent and know a little bit more about him and could tell us a little bit more. But, I like Josh Warrington. I'd like to see him have a little bit more of a meaningful fight, but I don't think there's anything wrong with this one as long as he gets a relatively quick return and does step up in his next fight back after this one. So it could be a scenario like that. But I wanted to, my thought was that I don't see it as being a too meaningful of a fight, but I think that could be a bit of ignorance on my part and a little bit of lack of knowledge of the opponent.
No, Gabe's absolutely right, Andy. It's not a massively meaningful fight. For someone across the pond,
No.
You wouldn't implore them to watch this. Takushi's tough. He doesn't get stopped. He never has been stopped. And Warrington isn't a big puncher. So I think it would go the 12 rounds. Gabe's right. Tune in whenever Warrington has a bigger fight. But given the fact that he's just off the back of a 3-fight winning streak over Kid Galahad, which was a defence, bit of a messy one, got the job done. Excellent win over Carl Frampton. Career-defining fight at the time as well over Lee Selby. Like I said at the top, we can forgive him for having a fight against a guy like Takushi. Yeah.
That Kid Dickhead fight was terrible, but I was so glad they did the business and got rid of that little prick.
Yeah, as I say, I've seen the opponent once. I think it was a guy called McKerchkin or something like that. I don't know if it was a European title fight, but that was a number of years ago. I agree with. I think it's probably got a distance fight over it. I don't know, because it's just my opinion, but I think Warrington might find that a wee bit of a problem, because it might be a problem that, in fact, is the guy's experienced, but there might be an issue of kind of motivation that as well. As I say, he's probably British Fighter of the Year after clearing out domestically and stuff. People would probably say that he's maybe due an easy fight and stuff like that. That's not the case at this point. I mean, Warrington's what now? He must be 28, 29. Featherweight, the prime years run about that weight and that are not very long, so he's got to try and kind of strike with irons hot, but he can't strike because the titleists are all tied up. You go Santa Cruz, he's probably going to fight Gary Russell. Probably unification fights, probably going to take precedent. Shakur Stevenson, I think he's fighting Joe Gonzalez for the vacant WBO title. So even after this fight, he might still be stuck in the same position. In terms of opponents, names-wise and stuff like that, obviously you've got Mick Conlon coming through, but Mick's going to be maybe another year or so away. But I don't know if, Steve, if you think about maybe like these two guys would be really good opponents for Warrington, maybe like say Jack Tapora and the Mongolian Nyambabaya. I think that might be a decent war, that fight with the Mongolian.
I think Nyambama Andy might be one of those in the who needs him club.
Probably,
they'll have to kind of push him into a mandatory. You wouldn't sort of take on someone like him because he's PBC affiliated and looks like a bit of a beast as well.
Yeah, well, he's high ranked with WBC, and I know he's kind of run about Warrington's division, the IBF rankings and that as well. But so as I say, that's just name wise and that. It says there's no really like big name fighters out there for him. I mean, as I say, he's cleaned up domestically. He's beat European opposition and stuff like that. He's kind of like coming back down to that European level and that. As I say, it's a tick over defence for him. As I say, after this fight and that, again, it depends on the politics and stuff. And it's up to Frank to try and deliver him a unification, because as I say, Santa Cruz, Gary Russell's obviously going to be made, and Al Heyman is going to keep fights in house where he can possibly do it, or he's going to send his fighter abroad where they're going to get really good money. Santa Cruz is his pet project. It's his pal. It's his fucking bastard child, so to speak. And so is Gary Russell. So they're creating fake beef there. It's obviously going to sell some pay-per-views for him as well. So I think they're going to be trying looking at maybe like Shakur Stevenson, Gonzalez winner, because obviously Frank's got the in there with Bob Arum. They've got the ESPN BT link up on that as well, so it could be a natural fight to get made. But if Shakur Stevenson becomes champion, then Top Rank will want to kind of protect him and put him on his own path. So you know what I'm saying. So maybe they'll want the unification fight straight away in that as well. So I think he's going to be stuck at the minute, and he's going to be stuck with trying to kind of get names, defences and that out the way. It could be another year or two before we see Josh Warrington get unification, or shall we say a biggish name like Santa Cruz to kind of break out into the mainstream.
Yeah, I think Stevenson will beat Joet Gonzalez, but I'm looking forward to it. Gonzalez is very, very confident, but Golden Boy are sending him across the top rank, I think, for a free swing, a free hit, similar to when they sent Jojo Diaz over to fight Gary Russell at the PBC. What's the worst that can happen? You know, you go the distance, give a good account of yourself. Diaz did that. I think they're hoping for the same with Gonzalez as well, but I expect Stevenson to beat him and take the title. Warrington, Rob, assuming he gets past Takouch, as we expect, probably on points. He's really matured into an experienced champion now, knows how to judge the distance, knows how to outbox people. I have a feeling for some reason, Rob, whenever they get this next big fight for Warrington, it might be against Michael Conlan. I don't know why I'm thinking that, but that's the impression I get.
Yeah, heard it through the grapevine. Look, I think, the thing is, well, the reason behind that thought for me that Conlan could take Warrington in 18 months' time is that I think there's an expiry date on Warrington's style. I think he put so much into the rounds, and I know he's a super fit guy, but that style kind of wear you out as a pro. Like, and you have 10, 12, 15 big fights like that at that pace, and that's the way you fight. You know what I mean? So I know he's shown he can adapt. He's a lot more mature. He's definitely proved me wrong once or twice. I think he's brilliant little fighter. I thought he might have lost the Galahad fight, to be honest with you, but Galahad didn't cover himself in glory that night. He fought horribly, but I just think down the line, as Mick picks up, if Mick progresses the way I think he will, and the timing might be right for him to get Warrington at the right time and have a change in the guard. But like, that's no slight on Warrington, for me anyway. But look, I'd give him a gimme. Yeah, this a mandatory for this one.
Yep.
Yeah, so
no, it's a voluntary, isn't it? Kid Galahad was the mandatory. Yeah.
That's right.
Oh well, a voluntary as this. Well, look, I give him a gimme. He's had. Maybe he can't get the big fight just now. Maybe he wants to recover a little bit before going again. I think he'd give any of them a good fight that are there at the moment. I don't think he'd definitely be in the fight against all of them. Whether he'd beat all of them is another question, but definitely think he gives them all a good go.
Yeah, shout out to a friend of the pod, McKetch, over on Twitter. He was talking about Chad Dawson there. Did Chad Dawson not have a mental breakdown? I do seem to remember something about that. I think he went missing at one point, and he wasn't happening for him mentally, so hopefully he's okay and he's coming back to the ring for all the right reasons. I'm not going to see another Oliver McCall situation. I think you're right, McKetch. I do remember
Chad Dawson is coming back. Oh no, man.
Yeah, man, the big comeback.
No. Look, I remember we joked about this with Zab Judah. Like, fucking Dawson's out of the ring a good while now, isn't he? Like, how long ago was it since Adonis Stevenson absolutely iced him? It's got to be
5 years.
7 years, yeah, maybe.
Or 14, was it? Was it 2014 or 2013?
And he quit against Ward before that, like, hadn't he? So in that division, come on, like, no, I wouldn't like to see that.
Well, he lost to Carpence. It was 2013. He got knocked out by Stevenson. Yeah, he's been back since. He lost to Fonfara. That's right. He hasn't. Yeah, he boxed earlier this year, June actually. He came back after 2 years out to beat the Quinton ranking. So he went up in the rankings there with a big win over Quinton. So he's back with a bang. Rob, just before we go on to Usyk Bivol, want a quick word from you. I know you're a big fan of Matchroom Italy, and you'll be a big fan this Friday night. Big Tommy McCarthy going in against Fabio Turchi. It's been rescheduled. Turchi got injured. Give Tommy a chance, given the fact we've seen the likes of Marcus Morrison, Sam Eggington, all these guys going over and getting big wins. There's nothing to say Tommy can't beat another one of these Italians. Yeah,
well, he's with Pete Taylor now, isn't he? So he seems to be doing well in the pro ranks. So hopefully, we're obviously rooting for Big Tommy, friend of the pod, good lad. As we said before, loads of times, was a very good amateur in Ireland, was in the high performance, turned over to the pros. He hasn't been one of the guys that's kind of come over from the medalists, so he's had a little bit tougher promotional wise. Had the setback against Staskin that time, and had another loss that he was in sparring partner mentality, so he does a lot of sparring with the likes of Bellew and the lads, and maybe that mentality crept in a little bit, and hopefully Pete has him switched on and he can do the business, because he's a lovely fighter on the day. So hopefully he can get it done over there in Matchroom Italy. But apart from that fight, Matchroom Italy can forget about it.
Thumbs down from Rob for Matchroom Italy. Yeah, Pete Taylor's doing okay, but apart from Friday night whenever he was in David Oliver Joyce's corner, unfortunately. But I agree, he's a very good coach, and yeah, hopefully Tommy can turn things around and make something of his career, starting with a win over Turchi. Just before we go on to Bellew of the Weeks and finish up for the evening, episode 343, Gabe, Saturday night, Chicago, Illinois, Dimitri Bivol against Lenin Castillo, Alexander Usyk against Tyrone Spong, a few other guys of note on the undercard. Expect Usyk to get rid of Spong. Spong looks absolutely terrible. And as for Bivol against Castillo, this Castillo, he lost a majority decision to Joe Williams, and he went the distance with Marcus Brown as well. Seems like he's got a bit of a punch on him. Seems sturdy enough. Tough guy. I expect Dimitri Bivol to just run rings round him, taking no chances. Maybe like he did against Barrera later on, he might put the foot down if Castillo's starting to wilt. But other than that, I expect Bivol to just absolutely run rings round him. As for Usyk against Spong, I'd be surprised if Spong gets past, 5 or 6 rounds. I know that Usyk is only moving up to heavyweight, not the biggest puncher in the world, but Spong truly is a terrible fighter. What do you think about those two fights, Gabe?
What have you seen from Spong that makes you think he's so terrible? I'm not saying right. I haven't seen that. I've seen a handful of things from him, like two boxing fights and some kickboxing, and I can't say I was actually impressed. But I didn't think he was as bad as you
Gabe,
said.
Let me refer you. Andrew Patterson made me aware of this. In December 2018, he won a split decision over 11-3-2 Yitalo Pereira, the same Mr. Pereira, who then went and got himself banged out in a round by Martin Bacoli in Liverpool. So that's not good form for me, and I expect Spong to fall.
Yeah, well, that doesn't bear well for anyone. I don't know. I kind of think it's, I don't know. Looking just solely at his record and having seen those couple of fights in a boxing match, he has a decent knockout ratio. The only thing on his record that wasn't that didn't end with a knockout or a technical knockout, what have you, was that split decision you're talking about. So kind of thinking, well, you could say, yeah, maybe he's not a great opponent, but he also used to be a kickboxer too, so maybe he's a little bit more agile on his feet than maybe what I saw in the videos that I watched. I don't know. I kind of expect the same thing for Usyk to go in and pretty much have his way and box circles around him and be the quicker guy and get off first, and look at Spong to be kind of slow on everything. Just slow on his response punches to Usyk, a little bit slow on his feet, a little bit slow to cover up. I really don't know what he's going to do. I think I'm more interested to see how Usyk looks, though. I think it'll be interesting to me to see how he moves up. I kind of predicted too, and this will be a long-term kind of thought. I don't think you'll be able to tell from just one event, but I've kind of predicted that I really didn't feel like Usyk was going to do really tremendously well at heavyweight. I know that he's fast. I know he's a big guy and stuff, but I just don't think he's going to have the kind of power it's going to take to keep somebody who can deal with his volume from coming in and kind of having their way with him. He's going to have to be a really elite boxer, use a lot of circular movement, I think, and really have to present himself in a way that we haven't seen him do necessarily before, but which is completely not to say he can't do it. The difference in weight is only a few pounds, and so he could look pretty good. I kind of just don't see where he fits into the big picture at heavyweight. So I'm kind of eager to watch that fight. I really do like Usyk. I don't know what his future holds at heavyweight. In terms of the Bivol fight, I'm not a big fan of Dimitri Bivol at all, really, to be honest with you. I don't dislike the guy, but if I had to choose between going to the store and getting a steak to grill or watching Dimitri Bivol, I'm going for steak. You know what I mean? There's just a bunch of, and to me, there's a bunch of things that would take precedence over watching one of his fights. And it's not really anything that I have against the guy. He doesn't really do anything for me. It's just kind of one of those guys. That said, though, I do think he should win pretty handily against Lenin Castillo. I don't see what Castillo's going to bring to the table that's going to really give Bivol a big hard time. I think this card is, it's not really all that great in terms of being a really stacked card that has a lot of competitive fights on it. But again, it's on a subscription service where they're trying to fill it up with a lot of fights and give you a lot of quantity. So it's not like a pay-per-view card like we had with Spence, where there was really several really good fights on paper on that card, So, I think that could be a part of it. I'm not going to be in any huge hurry to get on next weekend to watch that one. As long as I can see the Usyk fight, I'll be okay. But the rest of the card kind of not too concerned with, to be honest.
Crying like a little bitch.
Thanks, Gabe. On to you, Andy. Usyk, yeah, I would have preferred to see him fighting Carlos Takam. That was taken out of our hands, unfortunately. Takam got a win recently. Would have been a better yardstick than Spong. Putting that one to one side, I'm more interested in Bivol. I think I'm overlooking this fight. He'll get past Castillo. He's number 15 with the WBA, ranked below guys like Craig Richards, Callum Johnson, Jesse Hart, Dominic Brissell. I don't rate him at all. But Joshua Buatsi, Andy, is fighting in a WBA eliminator against Blake Caparello. So can we assume that they're pushing Buatsi towards this? Obviously the WBA has so many bloody champions. It might not be Bivol that he's fighting. John Pascal is number 1. I don't want to see Pascal fighting Bivol again. According to Fight News he is. But he's already bored us, Bivol has, against Pascal. I don't want to see that again. Yeah. I'm wondering whether they'll maybe bring Pascal over to the UK as the sort of litmus test for Buatsi and try and get, assuming Buatsi gets past Caparello, which we all expect he will, and then Buatsi gets past Pascal, and if he wins handily and looks decent, which he might not because Pascal's in a bit of a rich vein of form, then they might put him in with Bivol. But I'm sure you're like me, you're looking past Lenin Castillo. He's not going to present any test at all.
Well, I'll be fucking shocked if Pascal comes over here for Buatsi. It's some sort of litmus test for Bivol. Like I would be shocked because Pascal's a PBC fighter, isn't he? There's no way Uncle Al was going to send him over here unless it's fucking Major Benjamins, and Buatsi's going to have to take the shorter stick. And let's be honest, man, that is a tough fight for Buatsi at this point. I mean, okay, I'll take my personal kind of like fandom for that out the picture and stuff, but he's no, apart from Periban or maybe like a Quinlan who he's smashing one round, he's never really fought anybody. Caballero, for all his fucking faults and stuff, like okay, he went the distance with Chilemba and that, but never been stopped in that. So it would, I think Kovalev stopped him, so I think if he was to go rounds and maybe stop him late in that, it might be classed as some sort of kind of test in that. But at this point, it's probably the right opponent for him. But I don't want him to see him. Pascal at this point is obviously washed in that. It is maybe obviously the right opponent for him in that, but I still think it's a difficult one for him because obviously he's experienced, he's savvy, he's a strong dude for the weight and stuff. And some of you still think that Buatsi isn't really kind of a bona fide filled out light heavyweight. But just need to wait and see. Maybe his natural ability will come to the fore and stuff like that. We'll just need to wait and see. But certainly, as I say, it's a step in the right direction if we're talking about Pascal, maybe Caballero for Buatsi and stuff. But we've got to be honest in that. I think at this point, against a guy like Bivol, who I agree with Gabe, he isn't really kind of setting my head on fire as well, but I still think he's just a wee bit at this point too experienced and a wee bit kind of extra classy for Buatsi at this point. Like.
And a quick word on Usyk as well. You're the same as me, probably, Andy, regarding Tyrone Spong. Yeah,
I'm the same, mate. Big Usyk fan, obviously, and stuff. I expect him to do it. He'll probably work on a few things just to kind of see how he feels about the weight and stuff. Obviously, I think he'll come in about 215, 220, and see how he looks, see how he moves. He obviously want to test the bicep and that as well. Don't want to go too mad. But I'll go for a Usyk stoppage from about the 8th round. Is it a 10 rounder or 12 round fight?
It is a 12 rounder.
12 rounder. I'll go for 7 or 8 round stoppage for Usyk. Bivol, not really interested in that fight, but I'll say he wins on points.
Yeah, I think he'll win on points. I think Castillo's tough enough to stick around. Rob, maybe I'm talking out of turn regarding Buatsi. I'd say that Pascal would be a really solid test for him because people are talking about Buatsi. He has to move up in class, and if he's going to be pushing towards the likes of a Bivol, who I rate as the best light heavyweight in the world, they're going to have to do something with him if he beats Caparello. So, I mean, but Bivol... do you rate Bivol, Rob, as the best light heavyweight?
Yeah. Think about Bivol. I think he showed promise to be the best light heavyweight. And he probably is technically better than the other ones, but a couple of times now Bivol's been on the stage where you've expected him to really put on a show, especially towards the closing stages of HBO there, like they were kind of, when they thought they were still going to be in boxing, they were back in Bivol, like, and he's kind of, maybe that's just his style. He does enough to win. He's one of those guys. He's kind of technically good. He can do a bit of everything. He hasn't got the same typical Eastern European style. He has a bit of a mix in there. He's lovely to watch when he's putting it all together, but the casual fans want end product. Like, they don't want you to just coast. So he
showed that against Barrera, to be fair, Rob. Sorry to interrupt you. Do you remember he put the foot down against Barrera and got rid of him?
Yeah, there's times you're looking at him as well and you think, come on now, because you know what I mean? You can push on here and get this guy out of here if you want. Like.
Yes.
So I think he has to be more ruthless for the TV screens there, especially. Is this the zone Bivol is with now?
Yes, the zone, yeah.
Yeah. So he's in the mix there with all the big names, and if that is going to be the way it's going, which I don't think it is, but he's going to have to make a statement to start flattening some people now, and then if not, just make the unification fight. So we'll see what he's made of. Like, but Usyk should box the ears off Sponge, like, and Spong, and he'd be soaking up some pressure. But I think he'll get him out of there. I think he'll definitely box his ears off, put on a clinic, and then stop him.
Absolutely. Before we move on to Belly of the Weeks, does anybody have anything else they want to add in? Anything I might have missed? I think we seem to have lost Gabe, actually. Throw it in now, guys, if there's anything that I haven't already covered. Doesn't sound like it. Let's move on to Belly of the Weeks then, before we finish up for episode 343. Rob's still with us, so is Andy. Seem to have lost Gabe. Not to worry, we're finishing up soon anyway. Shout out to the chat, still going strong. Jason Chuckwu's in there, MB, Tosh, all the boys. First nomination this week is for Kell Brook and Fox Sports PBC. The King is back. Former IBF welterweight champion Special K Brook has a message for the winner of Spence against Porter. Wants his crown back, says Kell Brook. Derek THD PhD was nominated him for that one. Chad Hogan, one of many nominations from him for Sky Sports Boxing. They have ranked the WBA world title as vacant on their super lightweight rankings. They've got Jose Ramirez as the WBC and WBO champion. They've got the IBF champion as Josh Taylor. WBA super as Regis Prograis. They've then gone to the trouble of mentioning the WBA world and the fact that it's vacant. Nobody gives a shit about that. Chad Hogan is quite right. Joseph Ajayo, THD, PhD himself, has been nominated by Christoph. I want the boxing Twitter community to know, says Joseph, that Deontay Wilder runs for a boxer that can move and punch. Why can't he call for a bout with Andy Ruiz? I detest boxer with vendetta syndrome. Why is he going for an old, fagged out and tired boxer like Luis Ortiz? Champion indeed, says the doctor, laying it down there. Chad Hogan has nominated JD Sports. Who should be Fight Night's next cover star? Tell us, Eddie Hearn. He has confirmed that EA Sports are looking into the next game in the hugely popular Fight Night series. Who's going to be on the front cover? It might be Anthony Joshua. We just don't know. He has to beat Ruiz first. Chad Hogan has nominated Hustle Sports for saying that Spence vs Porter is the fight of the decade. Talking of good fights, Kevin Mitchell from The Guardian has been nominated by SS Dev 67. This fight, Callum Smith vs John Ryder, will be a fight for the fans and has war written all over it. Hashtag Smith Ryder. Mr SD7 doesn't agree with that. Chad Hogan has nominated Chris Walker. I interviewed Spencer Fearon for Boxing News a few years back, and he spent the bulk of his chat asking about the welfare of David Walker. He educated me on a number of issues surrounding blah blah blah. It's cut off there. Chad has also nominated Sarah Beverly Jones. I reckon No Context Hearn might actually sway the boxing public to cheer for Eddie Hearn now in the post-fight interviews, rather than the usual boos. Chad has also nominated Scott at Scotty_JI, who called us a pod full of nonsense this week. He single-handedly saved boxing as Eddie and brought it to the masses. Don't know why anyone would want to give him grief. And we're the nonsense, Scotty. Okay. Declan Graffin has nominated
Evening,
the Looper.
Evening.
Hi, Eddie.
How you doing, dude? Having a few drinkies. Get back in the cupboard.
I've not been booing him now. Declan Graffin has nominated the Looper, that is Vanes Martirosyan. TMZ said the boxer Vanes Martirosyan has been arrested after he allegedly headbutted his wife. He's headbutted his wife, Andy.
Then, shouldn't you?
That could be the first win he's had on BoxRec in a while. Martirosyan, he's been taking a few L's lately, I think.
Well, like Floyd, undefeated.
Victor Ortiz and the wife. She should have hit him the sucker punch afterwards.
Victor Ortiz, he's fucking got him doing fucking Highway 66 with his lorry and that, picking up chicks.
Victor, Maurice Hooker and Marty Rossian. All in the van together. Friggin' hell. You wouldn't want to be picked up by them if you're a hitchhiker. Nigel Benn has been nominated.
It looks like Eros Grezda to you, by the way, that wee wanker, that Martin Rosian.
You could put Serafina in the van with him, and they could all go around solving mysteries like Scooby Doo.
Serafina. Haven't heard from Sarah in a while, actually. Maybe we'll get a nomination for her in future weeks. Nigel Benn has been nominated. The Sakio Bika tickets are out, and the tour dates. They're very expensive, actually. Won't be getting one myself. Sarah Beverly Jones, talking about No Context Hearn. We already had that one. Porky Russ has nominated it as well. Declan Graffin has nominated Roman Gonzalez for nominating himself to step up to heavyweight to fight Derek Chisora now that Joseph Parker's pulled out. I'm ready, says Roman. God bless, #Savage Mode. Okay. And what else have we got here on the list? Dream It, Believe It, Become It. Tunde Ajayi and Spencer Fearon have brought out a new podcast. Joe Thackeray has nominated James Kenny, who said, "This will be brilliant. I can't wait to watch this. Will you release them as podcasts as well? Much easier to keep up with."
Fucking hell.
You're gonna be watching that, aren't you?
Waste the bandwidth, that one.
Get Dean White on there as well, Rob. The unholy trinity.
Dean White, yeah. The man with no name. They should call his podcast.
Should fucking get his birth certificate to see what's on that, by the way.
Maybe he bought it off Luis Ortiz. D-Dog 2014 has nominated Charlie Edwards. Rowan Songalia tweeted out, "I spoke with Charlie Edwards. He says he is not vacating his WBC flyweight title, contrary to reports. Charlie said, first I've heard of it. People love to chat shit. 2 days before he actually vacated the said title." So, there you go. Nominated for old Charlie. This fucking guy, says Boxing Asylum's Kurt Ward, former contributor to the pod, now dead. Kell Brook smiles, "I showed everyone that Golovkin can be beaten." Ricky Gravel has nominated him for that. Andy nominated Frank here at Guy Carter 11. Tunde Ajayi is real as F. Who could or who would want to put an act that long? His self-worth doesn't depend on validation from others, Andy. Shout out for Tunde there from Frank.
Yeah, Tunde. Project 9. Fuck off.
Deep Space Nine.
Or System 9 if it's called. Fuck me, man. He's on Planet Pluto, that one. Fucking Mars and anyone in between as well.
Fucking Planet 9.
Aye.
Oh.
Planet 9 from outer space. Chad Hogan has nominated Goodwin Boxing for announcing a new show, Brex Hit, over on the 23rd of November in the York Hall.
Nice.
Plenty of 50-50s.
Smitho be at that one, man.
With Porky and Stig. Stig's doing the matchmaking.
Stig's doing press-ups.
Oh, man.
Showing off his bod.
Oh, I stopped leaving that one alone.
Be honest, right? Be honest. Anybody who was watching that automatically thought about, what was the first thing you thought about when he was doing that?
Whenever he was with the girl,
come on,
the
be
coffee.
honest. Exactly. You were thinking about something. He's probably like pumping some lassie and that, 40 press-ups. Fucking hell, man! I would have lasted 40 press-ups. I'd have lasted 2 minutes, things.
I don't know what the fuck is going on here, man. I don't know what's going to do.
No, it is a bit strange. Eddie Hearn tweeted out this morning, just left the hospital with Triple G, who has been all cleared. And Timmy Tenders jumps in. "I love all these comments from middle-aged men. Since Eddie has been involved in boxing, the sport in the UK has risen significantly, and boxers are earning more money. And us as customers are getting better fights. Some of you must have forgotten." Kevin Watson nominated him for that, and Toby Hines jumped in and said, "What?
Forgot.
Every decade, Rob. Every decade had great fights and fighters, and immediately pre-Hearn had Kazagi, Hatton, Hay, Nazim and Lewis all in huge British events. Get your tongue out of his arsehole, mate, and stop looking for a Matchroom FC retweet, Rob."
That's a fair point. Makes a good point there.
Good point there. And Toby Hines friend of the pod. Joe Box has nominated ring announcer Terry Kavanagh from Friday night's MTK Golden Contract show. Amongst many other things, he announced Jazza Dickens as being from Liverpool, Northern Ireland. Nomination for Terry there.
Not much of a difference, to be honest with you.
Andy nominated Clarissa Shields here, fucking Chinster. "It wasn't anyone from my team," says Clarissa. She's denying it. We've already spoken in length about that one, but the nomination from her for you, for the whole incident. Chad Hogan has nominated Let's Have It, talking about Spencer Fearon. "When did he become so hated? I like him and Tunde and Sam Jones. He's from the southeast. blah, 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 blah. I think that's all the one I've got, actually. Any nominations from you, Andrew?
Clarissa Shields, obviously. De La Hoya for getting sued off a guy called Tattoo. Yeah, seriously, somebody goes about calling themselves Tattoos. Apparently some sort of MC. He's an annoying fucker.
Does he laugh from Fantasy Island?
Oh, I don't know who it is, mate. I didn't know who he was. Basically, he was classed as some sort of famous MC. I had a fucking clue who he was until I had to go and check him out. There's that. So, that twat, and there was somebody else. Oh, Sam Jones. He's still fucking. He was still going on, I thought, on Monday as well. What was he saying about it? He was. What the fuck? Hang on a second here. Rack him off as well for all the drugs and stuff like that. Just no fucks given him all the stuff left lying about. Sam Jones, what's he go here? The David Hay stuff and that, and he's next minute he's appeared. Chris Eubank Sr. was a great fighter, a legend, but my God, what an absolute cockend. The only way Tony Bellew would ever be a world champion is if they invented a belt where you would win it by talking. Nathan Cleve 2, Bella N 0. Sam Jones delivering again this week.
Delivering pizzas soon, maybe. Rob, who are you going for? Oh, sorry, any nominations first?
Just for Heather Hardy. Her Twitter is Heather Hardy Box.
Why, for the drugs?
She failed the drugs test, that she said the medicine was because she was taking medicine for her period, and that's why she failed the drugs test. It wasn't performance enhancing. So I was just wondering, like, if Big Baby Miller should have fucking been ahead of the game at Sarah Fina, they should have sat him down in the office and been like, listen, Big Baby, the climate is right. Just say you're identifying as a woman, and also it was your time of the month. We're all square. We're ready to go. So don't be surprised if that starts happening as these B samples go missing. It's all a bit mad, like, isn't it? But she's adamant anyway. Like every fighter that got popped, that she didn't do anything apart from have a period.
But that changed for kidney problems to period problems and that, So I bet Vinnie Cummins was loving all this shit, like.
Yeah, maybe so. Like. Slow enough week, like when you got Heather Hardy in the mix, isn't it? Like, Jesus Christ, thank Clarissa Shields.
Yeah, good old Heather. Okay, so I'm going to go this week for Charlie Edwards. I like the fact that he said it's the first I've heard about vacating. People love to chat shit, and then 2 days later he vacated. That was nominated by D-Dog 2014. Like a bit of bullshit from Charlie. I'm going for him. Who are you going for, Andy?
I'll go for Charlie as well, and you got winner this week.
That's 2 of us on Charlie. What about you, Rob?
Who you got? Making a clean sweep? For the first time, I'd say. I reckon it's everyone involved in that whole Shields thing, like, just fucking stunk that. So yeah, we can't ignore that one. Like,
absolutely, yeah. Tosh Bear jumps in as well. 100% Charlie. The Devil's Dandruff. Congratulations, Charlie Edwards. You might have lost the WBC title to move up to Super Flyweight, but you are the Bellew of the Week for episode 343. Woo. I think that'll do it then. Friend of the pod, Dominic Henry, was tweeting me. Thought he wanted to come on, but he didn't. He was congratulating me on Wolves' fine 2-0 win at Man City today. Go the mighty Wolves. Ozzy can't come on either. He's tweeted me on WhatsApp saying that he's out. We'll have him next week, Rob. No doubt.
Rob, fancy a high five?
Hey, it's only what month is it now? October. Hold on. Leave it hanging there for me.
I know it's a marathon, no a sprint.
Yeah, no. In fairness, they look very strong. Both sides look very strong at the moment. But after these UEFA Cup matches away, there's going to be a few points dropped on either side, I'd say. So we'll see you around Christmas.
It's like with January and that. We have to get a winter break out the road.
Yeah, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's just split with the other fixtures. I don't think that, like, apart from today, I can't see either of them dropping too many points, but we'll see.
Aye.
But fucking hell.
Right, let's finish up. Yeah. Thanks to everybody who's jumped on tonight. Had another good one. Thanks to you all in the chat. Rob Kelly's been with us. So has Gabe Lewis, who had to jump off a little bit earlier. Andy Patterson has been with me, Steve Wellings. We'll catch you all again, same time, same place next week. Bye.